I've been a teacher for over 20 years, and I was just appalled to see the behavior of certain teachers at this charter school and the inappropriate behavior they exhibited with their female students. It's totally unacceptable and wouldn't be tolerated at any of the district schools, so I'm wondering why it was permitted to go this long at Promise Charter. There were allegations that were brought up many times, and I know that previous principals attempted to go into the classrooms and see what was happening, and they were not allowed to enter a classroom, which was unbelievable because that is the primary role of a principal, is to supervise instruction and to make sure that the well-being of the students is foremost. That the doors were locked and the windows were taped down so that you couldn't see into the classroom, which was very questionable. And you know, if the door's locked and you go there and you don't have a master key, well, you can't enter the classroom to observe instruction. Previous principal was retaliated against by Alma Van Nuys for following through on a police investigation that was going on at the charter in regards to inappropriate behavior of teachers towards certain male teacher against female students. And when these teachers got wind of the fact that Alma Van Nuys was aware of the behavior and the investigation, she began to get a lot of negative feedback from them, and they started to attempt to fire her from the school. That there's always been certain threats of retaliation. I mean, they actually fired a principal, so there is that fear of some kind of retaliation, and I think that's why people have been hesitant to come forward. What I don't understand is why the district, who has been made aware of these allegations, and they actually have their own police department investigating, why they haven't moved to do something about pulling these teachers out of this charter.
My concerns were so high on Mr. Valencia and him basically being inappropriate, hugging, letting him braid his hair. We used to go to all the PTO meetings here. We would witness all the teachers kind of not really discussing what's good for the school, more discussing what was good for Mr. Valencia. And he had the teachers and the board members on him. One day, Mr. Rivera from the UCSD school branch up on Normal Street showed up here, was conducting an interview with everybody, talked to Mr. Rivera that day. 2 other times, no actions were being done. I went down to his office down in the bungalows up on Normal Street, and I'd had multiple conversations with him there, and still nothing was done. And Mr. Valencia is still allowed to teach. Ms. Van Nuys was hazed for trying to do the right thing. She was a huge supporter for the children here at the school, doing an amazing job trying to do what's right for the kids. She even noticed stuff, but as she tried to do more right, all the teachers began to click against her and start to form almost like a gang mentality and really start hazing her and pushing her out, making things wrong, making rude comments. I also saw that any other parents that tried to step up with Mrs. Van Nuys and kind of show support, their children were centered out in the classroom and told like, oh, we're not allowed to do this because of certain people's parents, and they would call out those kids in class, making them basically the odd duck in school, which really isn't good for education or them trying to learn when they're worried about trying to like get along or do what everybody else thinks they should do. First time we filed a complaint, went down to go pick up my son, and they were playing soccer. Mr. Valencia was teaching soccer or whatever, volunteering his time. He had the net set up in front of the slides down in the playground. He was sitting on the slides. There's 2 slides that come down side by side. He was at the base of the slides right before you would stand up to get off, and him and another little girl was right next to him, about 13 years old. Their legs were touching each other and kind of like arms messing around. And there was a third person, which was another little girl, about 12, 13, sitting in back of him, braiding his hair while he was supposedly teaching soccer. One of the children kicked the ball, it went wide of the net, and through ridicule, I guess he chose to teach the child, like, oh, that was an excellent kick, too bad it wasn't on the net, rather than get up and try to show the child how to stand, how to change your foot for trajectory or any of that. He chose to sit there and continue to be, I guess, lavishing in the attention of these children. never once trying to correct any of the sports that they were there to do, and felt no need to even try. So we filed a complaint. 2 days later, I come to check up on the complaint with Miss Van Ice, and apparently he was filing complaints against her at that point now, and wanting to know who the parents were that did the complaints. And I told her, please let it be known it's me. I have nothing to hide. If it's easier for her so she can go about her job, I have no problem. I'm in here in the office doing that. My fiance was outside going to get our kids, and then comes to me and points out that there's Mr. Valencia no longer down at the soccer ball area in the play court, but he's up in the lunch area, kind of off in the corner by the tree where the bench sits around it. And he's got probably about 3 little young gentlemen around him, probably about 11 to 12, 13. Kind of like, yeah, he's the cool guy. Look at all these young little girls around him. And then he had like 4 little girls putting barrettes and braids and brushing his hair.
I attended Promise Charter School from 2nd to 8th grade. They would like hang out with the girls more. And like, they would really, Mr. Valencia and Mr. Dial would really talk to the guys. Both the teachers would like hug the girls and read with them on the floor. And it would look wrong because, I mean, they're both older males and the girls are like 12 and 13. And I mean, that's just a bit weird. I just saw Mr. Tirado and Mr. Valencia on the ground with like their arm extended, and the girls would like just put their head on their arm and stuff. You don't see 12 and 13-year-olds doing that with like 30 or 40-year-old males. You usually see them doing it with like people their own age. When the girls were wrestling Mr. Tirado or Mr. Valencia down, we would just stare at it and we'll think it was funny because, I mean, they would do like weird moves on them and stuff. And then sometimes like when they try to do like certain moves on them, they would like grab each other from like certain parts, and I was like, that's just crossing the line. They said that they couldn't hug it anymore or wrestle with them anymore because, I mean, certain students' parents would get mad about it because they thought it was like harassment or something. Chest or like their thighs and stuff. Like throw Mr. Tirado down, and Mr. Tirado would hold onto them and bring him down and like accidentally touch him or like where he wasn't supposed to. Well, practically, because some people have like their parents on Facebook, and well, their parents would go into their profile and see what they've been doing, and well, they would look at pictures like that and they would think that's like harassment or something, you know.